if you're choosing an agent or even a life partner, if you're choosing a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you got to be conscious of choosing someone who wants more for you than you want for yourself.
Yeah,
that's how it should be, right? If you're choosing someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like relationship analogy, you don't want someone who's going to be jealous when you start doing well.
Yeah.
Or who's only going to start showing love or jumping in the pictures when you're doing well. You want someone like your parents or whatever who are just solid and there for you. So that's what's important, I think.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the Goodman Factory podcast. I am your host today, Goodman T, because Goodman Manny is away. He wanted to take some time off to celebrate his birthday, so you won't be seeing him again. No, I'm playing. In the building, we've got Goodman Riz.
Nice.
And Goodman Akin. This is your first time, right?
Yeah, debut, bro.
Sweet. Hopefully not the last.
Definitely not.
Before we get into the topics, how's everybody been? How's everybody feeling?
All good, man. Great. Feeling good.
Yeah, feeling fresh, healthy, happy.
It's good.
Can't complain.
Where did everybody watch the match?
Mate, I was at home. My week this week has been ludicrous. So instead of being out in the mix, and I didn't have the energy to to throw any beer around. But yeah, I watched it at home. Solid performance, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, same. Watched it at home. Comfort of my home. Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, I should have done the same, man. I'm feeling it today. Yeah. I went to a bar or whatever, and yeah, it was a lot of celebrating.
Good energy?
Oh, the energy was beautiful. Every time England scored, everyone jumped up. But I was waiting for Sterling to score. He didn't. If he scored, I wouldn't be here today. But yeah, no, it was a good game. I think that even is a nice segue into, I guess, what we need to talk about today. I think the question is, what does it take to build talent? What does it take to sort of build talent, and what does it take to make it? Is there, because I guess when you're watching your YouTube videos and reading your book, there's always sort of generic advice about, work hard and put in those hours and don't sleep. I don't know how many times I've seen those Insta posts where it's like, wake up at 5:30 a.m. and, work out, meditate for a little bit, and then start your day. I said, sir, by 6 p.m. I'll be finished. But I think it's definitely a needed conversation to see if there is, I guess, a method to the madness. Does anybody sort of have an approach on what it takes to sort of build talent, any personal experiences?
So listen, for me, looking at it from a sports agent's point of view, it's a really interesting topic because there are two separate types of talent for us that we look for, right? I'll talk about the talent that you need as an agent later on, but in terms of looking at talent, there's physical ability. Are you good? Are you a good striker? Are you a good tennis player? Are you a good swimmer? Whatever it is, you can see that, right? That's aesthetically, you can see if someone has the right form, strong legs, whatever. And even though there are always some anomalies where like someone might not look athletic at all, but they are. But for the most part, in my business, you can see if someone has the key components physically to perform at a high level. But then there's the intangible that you can't see, right?
Right.
The hunger, the purpose, the drive, the 5 a.m.s that Tolu's just spoke about, the wake-ups, the early wake-ups. You can't see that. So when I'm looking at, is this person talented, it's not just physically how they look. We're digging a lot deeper and saying, okay, if we ask you to be at the athletics track at 7 a.m. for a track session, are you there on time? Are you there early? Are you dragging your heels? Are you doing all these things? Are you eating right when no one else is around? The big thing is it's easy to do it when everyone's watching, right? Yeah. It's easy to put the building blocks in place to get to your end goal when everyone's watching. But when no one's clapping for you, that's when you really know if someone's about it. So for me, when I look at who's talented and who's not, those are really important things for me. Everything other than that I can't see. Kind of thing.
Good. You see, when you mentioned anomalies, how do you find those kind of gems? What makes an anomaly?
It's crazy. I mean, if you look at Bolt, for example, he shouldn't really. If you look at a typical sprinter, 100-meter sprinter, they're usually between, I guess, like 5'7" and maybe 6 foot at the top end, right? Just because the time it takes for a tall person to get out of their drive phase and do all the rest of it. But obviously, because his legs are so long, his stride length's quicker, which is why he's so great. Part of why he's so great. But those anomalies, you can't, to answer your question, you can't really look for them, to be honest. Like those unicorns almost that physically defy what has come before them, right? Every 100-meter champion before Bolt, like I say, would have been in that kind of height range. Then all of a sudden, here comes this GOAT. And then now, if you look at who's the quickest in the world, they're back down to, you know, the heights that were before him.
Yeah.
In team sports, it's slightly different. Everything's a bit more uniform. Like in the NBA, it's very rarely. I don't know if you guys remember Muggsy Bogues from back in the day. He was in Space Jam, the small guy in Space Jam.
Oh right, yeah.
I only remember the aliens.
I remember him.
Muggsy Bogues was like 5'6" or something like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
And he played in the NBA. 5'5", and he played in the NBA. It's very rare in team sports you'll get someone who.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
he had crazy hops. You got to rewatch Space Jam.
Oh, wow.
Put some respect.
I
on his
will.
name.
I've seen that movie like 10 times. So.
But in team sports, it's very rare that someone is a complete outlier and still does really well. But certainly in individual sports, it is like that. But yeah, man, it's just about, like I say, the intangibles are what you look for. It's not necessarily, if you're looking for someone who's not the norm, don't worry about physically what they're about. Now it's like, how hungry are you? Especially if you look at football, for example. You've got 16, 17-year-olds earning silly money. They're earning first team numbers from, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because there's so much more money in the game. So you got to really have a look at how this guy or girl is moving in terms of his or her day-to-day life to see if they're an anomaly or not, to see if they've got the Mbappe factor, right, or the LeBron factor or whatever, because everyone can play. Everyone can get fitter, faster, stronger, do all those things, train hard, eat the good food, but the intangibles, which are drive, how bad do I want it? Am I going to call out my teammates? I remember, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, years ago I sat down with Rio Ferdinand and Tyrone Mings. We had dinner, it was like 2015. Mingsy had just had an injury at the time and he was trying to get back on track with his rehab.
Yeah.
And the conversation that we have with Rio has always stuck with me. And one thing that he said was, on a Monday morning, getting into Carrington, if Man United had lost that weekend and he had seen that one of his teammates had been out and about, it doesn't matter if they lost 1-0, 4-3 last minute and they should have won the game, whatever. If they had been out, if he had seen a teammate was out and about after a loss, living the dream, he'd walk straight in and say, what are you doing? I'm trying to win a championship here. I'm trying to win the Prem. I'm trying to win the champ. Nah, that's not, and that's about standards.
Yeah.
And if you look at his CV, if you look at that United team CV, didn't they three-peated, right? They won the Prem.
Yes, we did.
Oh, mate. They three-peated, but that's not by accident. That's like the same mentality that Rio had, probably came from the top, Sir Alex, went down to, I can't remember who would have been captain at that time.
We
Neville?
had Vidic, we had
probably
Giggs.
Rio at some
It would have
time,
been-
Rooney.
But it depends on,
But
because
this is the thing. Listen to what you just said, all those names. All of them could have been captain, right? So to take it back to the talent side of things, it's not just about the physical. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can scout 100 players who are great, but to have that mentality that Rio had, where it's no, listen, we got to go up here. And one of my favourite quotes is, do your daily deposits align with the treasure that you seek?
I love that.
Is what you're doing day in and day out reflecting, you know what you said, IG, we see the posts, couple goals or personal goals, car, house, da-da-da-da. Everyone wants that. We all do as human beings. But does what we do day in, day out reflect what we need to do to get there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure everyone could say yes.
Of course, otherwise everybody would be there.
There you go.
And I guess when you look at how competitive football is, and I think every boy's dream, or a lot of boys' dreams, is to get into sort of the Premier League. But when when they're doing their interviews and they're talking about how much they had to sacrifice just to sort of make it as footballers. You know, they didn't go to the parties, they didn't go to the events, and it's worth it now because obviously they've paid off. But so many people ain't willing to sort of just say no or decline. Then it's like the Messi and Ronaldo debate. But as much as we think Messi is naturally gifted, I'm sure his work ethic is insane. So yeah, wow. What about you, Riz?
I was literally just gonna ask
go
a question.
Oh, yeah, go.
Have there been cases where you've seen talent like people not achieve what they're destined to achieve because of lifestyle choices?
Yeah, 100%, and not necessarily. I've seen it personally for sure.
Yeah.
Players across football, rugby, maybe even Olympic sports, who had the intangibles and the tangibles to get to the top, but they were missing that drive, that extra bit that takes you from good to great.
Yeah.
There are more examples of people that I don't know personally. Someone like a Ravel Morrison, for example, to take it back to. I don't know him, and I know there's been a lot of talk about X and Y. And one thing that I've learned since being in the sports business, not necessarily in the public eye, but having enough eyes on me to know how you move isn't always the whole picture. Or let me rephrase that. What people see and hear isn't always the full picture. So I'm not going to talk about Ravel like I know him. But what I will say is I've spoken to a lot of people close to him or who knew him, and he had all the talent in the world, but for whatever reason was missing that je ne sais quoi that you can't put your finger on. The same is true for, I guess, Nile Ranger as well, who by his own admission had it all, right? He was playing for Newcastle at one point in the Prem, doing his thing, and you can never doubt his talent because you don't get to the it's only a few players slip through the cracks where you're looking at the game and thinking, how's this guy even got
Who
to
did
this?
you know?
Yeah, who did you know? Apart from that, you can see, okay, he's technically sound or he's got X or got Y. So those two examples spring to mind initially. I don't know those guys personally, but I'd like to think that they're paying it forward to the next generation so that the guys coming up now,
Don't make the same
academies,
mistake.
are saying, yo, listen, don't worry about the bright lights just yet. That's going to come.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that 100 times. I've seen young guys, I'll get more DMs from players asking to be verified than saying to me, yo, can you find me a sprint coach or a nutritionist or an X or a Y?
Oh, wow.
And that, for me, is a red flag straight away.
Wow.
If you're more focused on how people see you as opposed to what you're putting into your career, I can't run with that. Yeah, 100%. So to answer your question, yes, I've seen it, but it's now about trying to guide people to make sure they don't make those mistakes as well.
Wow.
When you have people that I guess care more about the glitz and the glamour than I guess the drive and what's important, do you feel like there's a duty of care to sort of educate them on what is important, or do you just think, you know what, not for me?
Do you know what? I'm so fortunate, bro, because I'm not a well-known face by any stretch of the imagination, but my profile's there. I've done on TV for a little bit.
Yeah.
I've always had good relationships with athletes who do have a really big name. 2017, we're on tour with Drake. When I say on tour, we're literally in the mix with the OVO lot. We did some business to help him on the European leg of his Boy Meets World tour.
Yeah.
So I've seen the inside of the bubble and then being on the outside looking in, I'm in a really good position to say this is what to look out for and this is how it's going to feel as well. Like, I know what it's like to feel like you want to be in the club, right, with the right people and have the girls looking at you and be driving the nice car. And we've all been there through our teenage years, early 20s, mid 20s, whatever. For me, it started to taper off towards my late 20s, and now at 30, I'm like, it is what it is. I don't care if people know what car I drive or where I live. That's just a human nature, maturity thing.
Yeah.
But I've been in that position, being on the inside of the bubble, and wanting that attention, if I'm being honest. But I've also been on the outside, right? So now as an agent, I don't care who knows me or whatever. No one needs to know my name. I'm in the shadows. But it's given me a great perspective because now I can say to guys, slow down. Trust me. I've seen what it's like being in these great places and at the Transformers premiere in Leicester Square, standing next to Mark Wahlberg. I'll tell you a story. We were at the Batman Superman premiere a few years ago. Leicester Square, huge. Henry Cavill, Affleck, boom, boom, boom. And this is one of the big things that actually resonated with me, in a story that I tell and think about quite often, because it taught me a lot about humility.
Yeah.
So we're on the red carpet, and I'm talking, this is Batman Superman premiere, world premiere as well, not just European, world premiere. So there's lots of well-known names and all the rest of it walking down, and I remember I was with a friend of mine who played rugby at the time and his girlfriend.
Okay.
And, you know, paparazzi are there taking pictures. More of him than me, but we're all... And then they said, oh, can we do some solo shots? So just everyone individually. So my mate stood there with his partner, took some. And then as they were about to take some of me, Henry Cavill pulls up, right? I swear to you, just like in the corner in his whatever chauffeur car. The cameras went, zoom. And it was like... I was like, all right, so I'm going to head in then, kind of thing, you know. But for me, in that moment, I realised everyone has their time, and there's levels to it as well. Like, just because eyes are on you now doesn't mean they're going to be there forever, and doesn't mean people really care. Yeah. But for me, obviously, I was fine. I don't, you know, it was just a cool vibe to be there. But for some people, they want the cameras on them. They need that attention. They need and as soon as the big dog came in, Superman. Yeah, all right, mate, see you later. Bang. It was on them. And it was a lesson for me in understanding internally, I've got to be grounded and have my foundation set and understand who I am. Always. Right? I don't put my self-worth in the hands of anyone else. Riz, you know me well. Yeah. I'm not the type of guy to sit back and worry about likes. I'm not overly even actually active on social media.
Barely post.
Yeah, barely post because... And I'm going to start changing that because I want to start telling the story of sports agency more. But for me, it's also a conscious thing where I don't need other likes or engagement for me to feel good. I love myself for who I am, you know, my name, my heritage, where I'm from, all the rest of it. So that's a big thing for me, just being able to see it from the inside, looking out, and also now on the outside, looking in and seeing how intense it can be if you're trying to get the spotlight or you're forcing it. If you're certified, it will come. Plain and simple, you know.
I think it's very good that you know the importance of staying grounded, especially because you know, have a lot of young people under you. So you have to lead by example. Do you see like other, you know, sports agents that want to be in the limelight, want to be in the video, want to stand next to the athletes and just be known?
It's definitely
and
there.
How does that send like the wrong message to the young people underneath you?
I think, listen, we have a care of duty as agents. To be honest, as people, as parents, as agents, as brothers,
whatever position
uncles, we have a care of duty to guide those under our, I won't say tutelage, but who are close to us or that we care about, because we've experienced life that they haven't yet. Same way that our grandparents or our parents or our uncles and aunts give us advice here and there and help to guide us in the best way that they can. I see agency as exactly that. Like on our company Instagram bio, it says we don't have clients, we have family. And the reason I put that in there isn't this kind of corny, you know, roasting marshmallows by the fire kind of thing. When we're finished here, I'm driving down to Cambridge to see a player and her mum. Very, very talented young player, who I believe will be the face of women's football in the next few years. But the reason I'm driving down there and not doing a FaceTime or a Zoom or whatever, because it's about that feeling. I'm showing them, hey, listen, we're coming down to you. We're going to sit there, listen to what you have to say, understand you, feel that energy, right? Yeah. And move forwards that way. Are there agents who want to be in the spotlight? For sure. There aren't any who kind of spring to mind off the top of my head, but
yeah, you don't need to mention.
No, not even that. Even if I could think of some, I wouldn't mention names, but I like the fact that especially right now, the younger generation of agents, there's a lot of good ones. I think because for a long time we've had quite a bad rep. Sharks, you know, you both heard the stories of you being in football, agents signing a player, only speaking to that player around contract time. Other than that, see you later.
Wow.
I've heard stories of agents doing a deal for a player in a foreign country, getting to the country, doing the deal, getting their commission. The player never hears from them again.
Wow.
So we've had a bad reputation for a long time, but I hope and I feel as though that's changing. You got and I don't see other agents as competition either, which is important. So when you ask the question, do you see agents who are a bit trying to be in the picture, right, or trying to get a repost on IG or whatever? I don't see that, because the sort of agents that I focus on are doing it the right way. Like Sancho's team, Eddie Bonsu at Elite Project Group, I believe they're called. They've got Bukayo Saka, Todd Cantwell, quality. One of my a guy that I've known for a while, Toby Alabi, who has I believe he still has Tariq Lamptey and a few other, and Nikita Paris and a few others, does it the right way. These are young agents compared to Jonathan Barnett at Stella, who's, I don't know, 60, 70 however old, who are doing doing things the right way. So look, there are people like that, but you have to be very conscious of, if you're choosing an agent or even a life partner, if you're choosing a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you got to be conscious of choosing someone who wants more for you than you want for yourself.
Yeah,
that's how it should be, right? If you're choosing someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like relationship analogy, you don't want someone who's going to be jealous when you start doing well.
Yeah.
Or who's only going to start showing love or jumping in the pictures when you're doing well. You want someone like your parents or whatever who are just solid and there for you. So that's what's important, I think.
Yeah.
And what about you, Riz? Do you feel like there's an ideology that you subscribe to for what it takes to make it, or to have that talent or that drive?
Good question. I'm still trying to figure it out, if I'm being honest with you. I don't believe I have.
We all are, though, yeah.
A strategy on what it actually takes. I do believe in a bit of luck. Obviously, hard work over everything. You have to put in the work. Like, just do the best that you can, and always strive to be the best version of yourself. Just to get to where you need to. But yeah, still trying to work it out. Talent. I've always had the understanding that talent is not enough. So, you just need to keep on sharpening your tools and just making sure that, you've got your eye on the goal, the target. And yeah, that's pretty much my view on like that journey to success. And yeah.
But how would you sort of, I guess, the Goodman sort of journey, how would you apply then the talent, the work ethic, the drive, the ideology that you have into that?
You know what? I've never viewed the work that is required for Goodman Factory as like talent. I've always seen it as more like hustle. So just do what is required to take it to where you need to take it. I've never believed that I have natural gifts. People can tell me otherwise, but I've never believed that, I'm good at this or I'm good at that. I feel like I've always had to put the work in to do something well. And just I kind of ignore talent. When it comes to Goodman Factory, we just need to just keep pushing, putting in the work, do what is required, and stay grounded, as you said.
Yeah, and it's also like the beautiful thing about Goodman is you guys evolve and have evolved. There are brands, there are people, there are coaches, there are doctors, whoever. Well, medicine's slightly different, but in fact, no, it is the same. Where if you look at where they are, we're halfway through 2021. Goodman now are telling different stories than you were telling in January, or in the summer of last year.
Yeah.
You're looking at bringing out new ranges, new products, perhaps rebranding at some point, whatever it might be. And that's what's super important, because when people are chasing whatever dream they're chasing, from Monday, I have a thing where I say, if I wake up on Friday morning, the same Akin that woke up on Monday morning, I've wasted a week. If I haven't learned something new, added a new contact to my network, dug a little deeper, I've reached out to a new player or whatever, I've wasted a week. So evolution is important. Everyone has goals. Everyone has dreams. 90% of the population wants to be at the top. But are you consistently getting levels above? And it doesn't have to be 40%, 60%, like these mad spikes, right? But it's about a gradual increase, but getting better each time. Yeah. And that's what's really important.
Yeah. You wouldn't say hustling or the ability to hustle is a talent?
I just feel like it depends how bad you want it. I've always believed that God will give whoever wants something to the person that wants it the most. So I'm always trying to prove to myself that I want it the most. So when it comes to like competitors, I have to prove that, you know, I want us to be the biggest grooming brand or the biggest media company. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really see it as talent. I think it's mindset, like your mentality.
And that's what Draymond Green says. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip. He plays for the Golden State Warriors.
Okay, what did he say?
He sat in a press conference and he says to the journalist, I have the mentality every time I go out on the floor that I'm the best defender on the court. Yeah. Because if you don't have that mentality, you've already lost. And he says to the journalist, if you don't believe that you're the best journalist, the best person in media, then you're already behind. Yeah. Right?
I agree.
Because, you know, you shape your reality. So that's really important.
I love that you said that you shape your reality. So that's why I was saying that I don't think that's talent. I don't think that's something that I've been born with. Like I feel like I have to convince myself, kind of just like make myself believe that, you know, we're the best, and I have to prove it through the work. Okay, you're saying you're the best, then show the universe that you're the best. So yeah,
mental fortitude. No, I get it. I think it's. I agree. I think it, especially with Goodman, you guys have evolved, but I also see the talent. But from the outside looking in, I see the talent. But for you, it's just, this is what I have to do. I have to earn it. Like, for example, the cameras, the making the products, and, you know, not relying on one product. You know, being able to do the research needed to bring out other products and stuff like that. I just think, as a package, to me, I just see talent. Yeah, obviously from the inside,
and also quality products. Like, I got the oil on now.
Yeah,
and you boys know me well. When it comes to skincare, when it comes to grooming, I take that very seriously. Yeah, right. Just because you're my boys and I love you and I want to see you do well, I wouldn't be using the product if it wasn't certain. Right. So you can have all the, like you just said, drive, heart, hustle, everything that we've spoken about, but also you got to have the end product. You can work really hard to get physically fit and want to be a boxer, let's say, but if you're not good in the ring, technically or whatever, or you can't bang, you can't knock people out, you haven't got what it takes in terms of the product, it's never going to be good enough. So there's also, you have to have a sense of realism about it. Not to say don't chase your dreams, never stop, but have a look at, you know, if the product wasn't there, you could tell all the stories in the world, right? Be a fantastic podcast, you know, great release content for new product. But if it's not good, you're done out there. So.
Do you know what? It's actually mad to hear this from you, because I feel like our perspectives are different. Being on the outside and looking in is very different to being in the inside. So I'm quite shocked when I hear stuff like this. Like, you know, when people are like, your product is so good, it's kind of like, I didn't know that until you said that. You understand? And when we created the product, it wasn't, I didn't really think on, is this a good product and how would people take it on? I just kind of
did it for you, yeah.
Like, this is what I like. I like nice things, and I want to make something that is nice that I would use. And I believe there are many people like myself out there that appreciate the same thing. So, yeah.
But there's not many people making it happen. You know, it's the ability to be able to wake up, not only notice and spot a good product, but to continue doing it. Yeah. And I think that's even another topic we can go into, just the failures of what it takes to fail and to get up and to continue going again. I'm sure we all watched the France match when it went to penalties. Yeah. And Mbappe, he missed the penalty. Yeah. I don't know why he took the fifth penalty, but we'll save that for another day, another podcast. But the abuse he received after, you know, was insane. And how old is Mbappe? 23?
Early 20s, 22-ish, 23, yeah, around there.
And I think there's so much pressure on not just footballers but talent to be consistent. But when you're not, the abuse that the talent are receiving is insane. So I guess have any of your clients received abuse or struggled with a failure, and how did you, I guess, help them or assist them or support them, or whatever your approach was to help them sort of realize that this is, you failed, but tomorrow's another day?
I've got a great example for you. One of our, women's football's getting bigger and bigger each year, every year. Sky Sports Sky Sports have just bought the rights to the Women's Super League for next season, and DAZN are going to be live streaming the Women's Champions League throughout the next season as well. So it's getting bigger and bigger. Euros are in England next year as well.
Oh wow! So
we'll definitely be at those, but I'll get you boys down.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Please do.
Little hospitality day. No rum, no tea, bro. No palm wine for you, brother. But the reason I mentioned that is one of our clients, Laura Rafferty, she ruptured her ACL summer of 2019, I believe it was. Yeah. So 2 years ago, just before the start of the season was about to begin. She did her ACL, and obviously that following summer was supposed to be the Olympics. Obviously, it got pushed back to this year.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I saw, once she had her operation and her road to rehab started, I said to her, "Listen, you've got 2 days to feel down in the dumps, right? 2 days to cry, go see your family, see your teammates, just feel like your world shattered." Same way Mbappe did after he missed that pen. But then guess what you got to do? Get back to work.
That's it.
Right? Because the reality of it is that irrespective of what happens to us, in the grand scheme of things, in the cosmos, the universe, the 7 billion people in the world, whether we're feeling good or bad or up or down, the world's going to keep on spinning. That's just the reality. Whether you're healthy, sick, happy, sad, in love, not in love, the world's going to keep on spinning. So you have to say, right, I'm going to decide how this setback, how this failure is going to affect me. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Will Smith said, you're a person who's caused you pain or something that's caused you pain, an injury, a disappointment, lost your job, whatever. It's not that thing's responsibility for you to heal. It's on you, right? So to take it back to Mbappe, it's always harder. They say it's easier to bat a high average in the minor leagues than in the pros. It's like a baseball analogy. It's easier to hit home runs in the lower leagues than when you get into the big leagues.
Yeah.
But the MVPs step up and they go swing regardless, right? That's what makes them great. So Mbappe, he stepped up and took that penalty. With Laura, who I mentioned, she stepped up and attacked her rehab. She didn't wait for people to get onto her. She was there and she went and did it. And to be honest with you, I'm happy we're talking about failure, because that's one of the common denominators from Goodman to Steve Jobs to Barack Obama to Kylian Mbappe to Cristiano. Think about Cristiano when he first signed for United. How many failures did he have?
I remember.
He could have folded.
Yeah.
I remember when I think it was after the Euros where he got Rooney sent off.
Yeah.
And he was getting booed every game.
Yeah.
Man, I thought that would really affect him. I'm sure it did in many ways. But now if you look at him, he took those L's, right? And this is what I say all the time to our players, to myself. I have a whiteboard in my office at home of not all, but a lot of the L's that I've taken. I did a deal in 2018 for Forbes and Victoria Beckham, right? We negotiated a deal where she went out with her sponsor, her partner, Reebok Women, to do and it was a big deal at the time, the biggest that I'd done, six-figure deal. And I had promised one of the clients something that wasn't part of the deal, basically. Basically, I'd said to Equinox Gyms, oh yeah, Victoria Beckham's going to be at the event without checking it with her team first. But she wasn't at the event. So then they're looking at me sideways, and that relationship was hard to get back on track. But that's up on my whiteboard. So now, every deal that I do, I make sure I know all the key facts.
Yeah.
all the information, all the variables, right? So I don't look at it and go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I look at it and go, all right, cool, I did that. Boom, boom, boom. Say no more. Bang. Right? So now, moving forward, I wear that like a badge of honor. Yeah, I failed, but look at me now kind of thing. So you got to learn from failure for sure.
I love that.
It's, as they say, it's not an L, it's a lesson.
Yeah.
So that's good. But then, is there ever a moment where the mental health of the talent is more important than, I guess, them continuing on? Like if you look at and this is new, when you look at the Naomi Osaka's, the Ryan Garcia's, taking time away, missing big tournaments, big fights to say, you know what, my mental health is more important than anything else. And I don't think that's ever happened with, on that stage. I feel like the athlete or the talent has always had to find a way. But yeah, is there ever a time when, where the mental health is more important than...
Every time, to be honest, like, because it's human first, athlete later.
Yeah.
Right? I look back now and I think about growing up, everything that my mum did for me. And, I have up and down days just like we all do. She did, right? But when you're younger, you don't look at it like that. The people who look after us, we think they're robots. We don't, our teachers or whoever. Think of how many of our teachers at school would have been there teaching lessons and they had the worst week ever.
I can only imagine.
They're down in the dumps.
Especially in their personal lives.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Especially knowing teachers now.
Yeah.
And knowing what they go through. And on the weekends, they're just like...
Mate.
boozing, trying to numb the pain. And, shout out teachers, nurses.
Yeah.
My grandma, my mum's mum, was in hospital like a few Christmases ago, and the nurses did such a great job with her. But then I think about these long shifts that they're working, the effects that takes on their mental health. But they've got to show up and be there for the patient, right? Yeah. That's their job. But to answer your question, the mental health always comes first. Those examples, Ryan Garcia, Osaka, even Sha'Carri Richardson recently, with the, listen, let me just be very clear on that, by the way. Cannabis is a banned substance on the, I guess, VADA, World Anti-Doping Association list. I think so. We don't exclusively represent any Olympians. We broker deals for some, but so I'm not fully clued up on that. But I'm pretty sure weed is banned substance.
Is that the same with football?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Every elite sport, to be honest.
Okay.
In the off season,
except for UFC.
Oh really?
They've legalized it because I think it was Nate Diaz. He was like, when they announced it, he was just smoking in the press conference. Like, finally,
seriously,
yeah, that's crazy.
He went and lost after, but hey,
but so I just wanted to quickly segue and say what she did was wrong because people are saying, oh, it's kind of there's racism tones of that in there. Okay, because there was a thing about African hair swimmers can't wear a certain swim cap. I don't know if you guys saw that. Now that is slightly ridiculous, a different conversation. But with Sha'Carri, no, you ingested or you smoked, you inhaled something you shouldn't have done. So that's it. I understand she might have had plausible reasons losing her birth mum, but to your point about mental health, she did what she had to do to get her mind right, And has she lost M's? Probably. Hopefully she can run it back, and she's young, so I'm sure she'll make more of that back. It'd be interesting to see how many brands are still willing to partner with her. In a way, though, it may work in her favor because so many people are supporting her. Yeah. Same with Naomi Osaka. So many people showed love, but you have to take care of the grey matter first, I think. But then there is an argument to say, with Osaka, she said at the French Open, I'm not going to talk to media for my mental health. As an elite athlete, though, looking at it from an agent's point of view, or even from a marketer's point of view, if I'm paying millions to sponsor Roland Garros and the top draw is just saying I don't want to speak to media, I understand that there are going to be reasons why, but at the same time, I want what I'm paying for. Yeah. Right. But then on the other side, there's looking at it from the human perspective, which is you got to look after number one before anything else.
Yeah.
Doesn't that ever, I guess, put you in a conflicting position? What if Naomi was your talent, and she doesn't want to do the press conferences because you know obviously you're empathizing with her as a human, but at the same time this is your talent, this is your livelihood. How would you approach it if you know if that was your talent?
Every player is different. I remember a few years ago, Isaiah Thomas, who's a basketball player, used to play for the Celtics, lost his sister, I believe, and he actually played like a day later or 2 days later.
Crazy.
I can't understand how he did that. You know, unbelievable willpower, right? I don't think anyone would have said to him, "You have to play." There's no way, but he chose to. Naomi chose not to play. That was her decision. But what you got to remember is when we talk about mental fatigue and mental health, there are different types of ways that you can be drained. It's not just physically, but mentally you can feel under pressure. Also, kind of emotional fatigue, which is the ups and downs of a tennis tournament, right? Which is winning, losing. Naomi Osaka is very sensitive from what we've seen, so it probably affects her differently, the winning, the losing, all the rest of it. So what I'm trying to say is it's not just, when we talk about mental health and whether it's up or down, it's not just happy, sad, but it's the whole package. So for me, I'm leaving it to the player. I think ultimately you have to. But what about you boys? What are your thoughts on it?
Mental health comes first. I feel like if I am not in the right space mentally, then so there's been times where I've gone through like just downsides in life and like I'm going through something, but I choose to just continue to hustle and I've made the wrong decisions. And then I look back at it and I'm like, I should not have worked because I wasn't in my head wasn't in the right space. So that's one thing I've learned from that is just to, when I'm going through it, take a break, just switch off. As much as like, you know, I want to like make money or like just continue hustling. It's just from making the wrong decisions. It's just taught me that, you know.
And T, I'm curious because I know you kicked ball in your early days.
Yeah. You know what? I guess maybe just upbringing, being the eldest as well. I've just always had that mentality where you keep going. You know, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling down, you can deal with that later on. You can't allow it to stop you from getting the job done. But I feel like that was at a time where mental health there wasn't an awareness and there wasn't anybody encouraging people to focus on their mental health. Where now, I think if, I don't know, my son, if he, you know, let's say he had a big football tournament and he just wasn't feeling up to it and he told me, I would encourage him to take a moment before he makes a decision, but I would support him in whatever decision he made. Whereas once upon a time, it's no, like you're doing it. Same way with Naomi, once upon a time, it's I'm not understanding why you can't do this. This is your job. This is like, you're trying to be like MJ. You want to be great, right? But I feel like it's so important, as Rich said, if you're not performing to a level of standard because your mental health is impacted, then you're not going to be able to do anything. It's just going to be pointless.
And it's different now because, you know, I don't know if you boys watched Last Dance. I'm sure you did with
yes.
Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
He had a game. It's notoriously known as the flu game, where there's literally I can't remember what colorway Jordans it is, but anyway, there's some J's that are the flu game Jordans because he had this mad fever. He played. In today's society, no one's really going to be applauding that. Do you know what I mean? And the way that we feel about self-care, our generation and definitely Gen Z coming up, it's all about looking after yourself, filling your cup, making sure that you're in the right place to play. And then look at R9, World Cup final, 98. He missed the final or the semi when he swallowed his tongue. Can't remember. Do you not remember that? Brazilian Ronaldo. The GOAT, he swallowed his tongue in the semi. He missed the final, I believe, against France.
Sounds familiar.
But anyway, people now in the society that we live in now would look at that and say, "Wow, terrible from Brazil to even have him, send him home, let him take care of himself." You know, and that's the way it should be. Like MJ playing at the time was seen as, wow, he powered through. That's the GOAT, like you just said. Work, drive. In 2021. Chicago Bulls would probably have like a lawsuit, people wanting to sue. Be like, why are you making your players play if they've fever?
Sounds mad to me, like hearing that, especially like with just in the current situation that we're in with COVID. Yeah, that's crazy.
Even look at AJ when he lost to Ruiz, and he even alluded to the fact that there was something going on before the fight. However, he didn't pull out and he lost. And he had to deal with all of that abuse from...
I think it was his old man, right, who came out and said something to do with, I can't remember, something to do with Hearn pushing him. Or, there was a bit of back and forth. But, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So is it worth you going out there, losing as well, and it impacting you? And I guess it just depends on... Oh, actually, this is a good question. How important is it to sort of be accepted by others in your own field? Like, if you don't sort of care to be accepted, then, you're going to put yourself first. But if you do sort of, I guess you have to care to be accepted because everybody's involved. It's a team effort. It's a family. But how important is it to sort of be accepted?
It depends on the profession as well, though. Like, in my business, representing athletes and brokering deals, being accepted or being... Listen, we've just done a deal in the esports space. Ridiculous. I'll tell you boys about it off air. When it's announced, it'll be crazy. I'll say it's with Lamborghini, but that's all I'll say for now. And the company it's a licensing deal, so we've brokered a sick company in the esports space to use a Lamborghini branding with their branding. It's going to be nuts. But the company that we're doing the deal with Lambo with, the CEO and I talk, he's got 400 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
He's worth M's, just bought a mad whip, But the reason I say that, he doesn't care about acceptance, right? Or we've moved from the topic of looking cool and being verified, whatever. He doesn't care about that. And he's in the position where all of us want to be. Boss of his own company, great turnover, family, cars, all the rest of it. So you have to, it goes back to you have to define and shape your reality, right? For me to feel accepted, I was saying to my mum the other day, for a long time I had imposter syndrome, really, in the agency world, because there are agents who have done so much more than I have in the sports world, and I'm still on my journey, still in the kind of embryonic stages, to be fair. But I had imposter syndrome because people kind of assumed that because I'd been on TV and because I had a small following, an okay following, that was already the finished article. Right? So I didn't feel accepted because I knew that I hadn't achieved, my CV wasn't as long as the other guys. Now that we've fast forwarded a few years and we've brokered deals for England football players, rugby players, Olympians, brands like Lambo, Victoria Beckham, etc., I'll walk into any room with any other agent and I feel accepted. I don't need them to accept me.
Don't need the validation.
I feel accepted because I've delivered, right? I guess it's like Wiley. He's always calling out Stormzy and doing... I know that's a whole different topic, but I feel as though when he sits down, I'd assume he's not looking for validation from someone like Stormzy. Stormzy's already made a song anyway to salute him. But my point is he's been in the game so long and he's delivered, and people have that ratings for him that I think, and I'm kind of maybe contradicting myself because he's always out there atting people, but he feels as though I am not the GOAT, but I've delivered, I've put it out there. So in terms of acceptance, it has to come from within first. Because even if people show you love, say, Riz, you're the man, T, you're the man. If you don't feel it, it's going to feel fake. Until the second, Goodman Factory is amazing. You go to a trade show or whatever and Diptyque are over there and this brand. Only when you feel, we're levels, will you feel accepted in those circles. Even if they say, love what you've done, if you don't feel that you've done enough, then it will never be enough.
That's facts.
Do you feel that? Do you feel accepted within the I guess in the world of being an entrepreneur, or is that something that you battle with?
No, I don't feel accepted. I'm not looking to be accepted. I feel like me and Malik get that validation from ourselves. It's just.
But what for you is success? Is it a certain level of turnover? Is it like brand affinity, like different? Because people who buy your stuff, they're repeat customers.
Yeah.
You know, is that one of the things that you say, right, that's what's going to make us feel like we've made it and we're on the right way? What are the metrics for you?
So I use like McDonald's and Coca-Cola within their industries. I feel like once Goodman Factory gets to that level within the grooming or podcast sector, I feel like that is success to me.
The go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at a global scale. So yeah, I'm just looking at the big boys like McDonald's and Coca-Cola. Yeah.
It's interesting because even just looking at the Joe Budden fiasco that you had with his people, you know, for a long time he said as talent they're not getting paid what they deserve. You know, Joe Budden was all for the people, right? And his thing was acceptance. He's not being accepted by the people, and he doesn't want to work with them, and he wants to get paid his worth. And he's just signed now a deal with Facebook.
Has he?
Which contradicts a lot of what he said before. Which I get at the same time, you know, you want to get your business to a point where you're making money from it. But I feel like everybody deep down does want that acceptance from their field and their sector, even from the public. And I feel like even, you know, footballers and talent, the public plays a big part. You want to be accepted by them.
That's true.
Yeah.
And as much as, you know, we say, as long as we are okay within, you still want to be accepted. Like, you know, you're driving to meet your client today at Cambridge.
Yeah.
It is a family, but you also want the acceptance.
Them to like you. Yeah,
exactly. So when does it become a problem? When that is all you're seeking. Someone like a Paul Pogba, for example, I feel like he wants to be accepted, but he also has that element of I don't care for the British media. If you accept him who you don't, then it is what it is.
Yeah. Listen, Cristiano and the Coke bottles are a prime example. Right? He's at a level where he's so comfortable with who he is, and it's nothing to do with the financial implications of him getting fined or whatever. He's so comfortable with what he's done in the game, the respect that he has from journalists, his peers, coaches, whatever, that in his mind, moving those Coke bottles isn't even a thing. He has his values. I don't want that near me, right? There are a lot of other players at a high level who wouldn't even dream of doing that because in themselves, they don't feel that they're on that Mount Rushmore and can do it, right? Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it's really important to talk about Pogba. Yes, he's flamboyant. Yes, he changes the hair. But the thing about it is, for the most part, he delivers. Certainly for France. Certainly for France. So it's slightly different where I think, you know, we all have pressures. We all have pressures of wanting to live up to the targets that we've set inside, targets that family have set for us, whatever. But if we're at least on the way to those and building and, like I said before, brick by brick, leveling up. It's never going to be like that, but brick by brick, moving up. Then acceptance or how other people feel about you takes on less of a pressure because at least you know you're moving forwards. If Pogba wasn't balling for France or United, the pressures of what other people have to say would weigh down far heavier than it does now because he is one of the top midfield. Everyone says that. Even Roy Keane, who pretty much hates him, will say he's got the talent there, right? But it's just not consistent. So it's all about, it goes back to, are you delivering? Yeah. Are you actually, whether you're AJ, yes, he lost, but he came back, right? And won. Hopefully we'll see with Osaka, she'll come back, and Ryan Garcia, these talents will come back from, those aren't losses to be fair, but they'll come back from the pressures that they were under and produce. And that's the most important thing.
Do you know what? It's very good that you said that because I feel like people that kind of complain about people not accepting them, like them not getting that validation, they feel as if they've put in the work and it's like, when are you going to accept me? Can you not see I've done this and that? But I think that's a very bad position to be in.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
We all hustle. You know, we spoke about that earlier. Hustle, yes, that's part of the pie. But there needs to be delivery at the same time. One of my favourite quotes is, if you want to see how tall a building's going to be, look how deep they dig the foundations.
Yeah.
You get that? If you see a foundations being dug however many feet, you know they're building a skyscraper, right? If there's like just whatever, it's quite basic, few holes, you know the building's not going to be very big. So you've really got to focus on, with whatever business I'm in, grooming, sports agency, production, am I making sure that I've got the ingredients really locked in? Like I said about imposter syndrome, for me, when I came into the agency game, I didn't even know. I know now what agent means, right? It comes from the Greek agenos, which means to do.
Right.
I didn't know that. Not many agents will know that. Who's going to look that up? For me, I did it. My mum's a writer. I love words, all the rest of it. But the reason I mention that is my foundations are deep now. I know processes. I understand the systems of what I need to do to speak to a potential client, sign them up, do deals for them, so on and so forth. And so a lot of people, they hustle, they're grinding, but they haven't done what you need to do, is build those foundations and then level up from there. So it's not enough to just be out there grafting. Like I said, it's not enough to be in the boxing gym, hitting the pads and do you understand what you're about? I saw Justin Gatlin, a video from him the other day. He said throughout his career, he'll watch what other sprinters are doing. Is their drive phase changing from last summer to this summer? Because if so, I need to tweak mine and work on getting out of the blocks more aggressively. Are they trying to intimidate on the line and they weren't doing that before? He constantly is looking at the opposition to change up what he does, right? And we've got to do that as well. It's not enough to just be grafting.
I think Gatlin's a great example as well of everything we've spoken about. You know, someone who got banned for taking an illegal substance, so a big failure, big L, came back and is still competing now at what, 36?
Yeah, late 30s.
You know, imagine that. You know, Bolt couldn't even he was struggling to run at 30, 31. You've got Gatlin doing that. It's incredible.
And he was under a lot of pressure, Gatlin. Like, I don't agree with the drug stuff. But think about how heavy people came down on him, right? And he managed to go through that fire, deal with those pressures, and fair play to him, just continue rising, really, because he's still running at a quick pace. He didn't make the Olympics, but he's still running at a quick pace at that late age.
It's insane. Do you feel like race plays a factor in acceptance? And I guess you said you suffered from imposter syndrome. I have. I'm sure you have as well, Rids. Yeah. Do you think race plays a factor in that?
You know what? Growing up, my mum always used to say, you're going to have to work doubly as hard, if not triple as hard as your white friends or your non-black friends. And it always used to really upset me when she said that.
At what age were you when you
Oh, she used to say it to me from quite young. She was just saying, look, you can't afford to make the same mistakes that other people do. And I used to think, hold on, so you're telling me I could be just as talented as X or Y, but because the colour of my skin's different or because my name's different, I'm not going to, you know, we're both, let's say, the same speed in a 100-metre race. But because, in fact, that's a bad example because if you're quicker than someone, you're quicker than them. But let's say we both got you know, similar talents going into a job. We're the same age. We've got exactly the same A levels, let's say, dressed similar, whatever. You're telling me that so-and-so may get that job just based on something that I can't control. And it used to really upset me. Yeah. But I've realised she was actually quite right in a way. Our society, if you think just about history and what we've been through as people with brown skin, black people, we've always been behind playing catch up. At one point in time, it was illegal for us to read. Yeah. Right? We don't really think about that enough. Yeah. At one point in time, we're literally
50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, not even ago. That's long recent. Ago. I was thinking slavery times, but even more recently.
Insane.
There were times when it was illegal for us to learn. Right? So I look at it now and think, as an individual, I have to put my best foot forward. I do that regardless, right? The small details, branding, turning up places on time, making sure that I'm learning, digging my foundations deep. I do that regardless. But it's even more important because I feel as though there's a subculture, or not subculture, but there's a subconscious. I don't know if it's global, but definitely where we're from in Europe and the UK, where one slip up and, you know, people are going to try and chop your head off. Yeah. But someone else could make that same mistake who is of a different color skin, and the repercussions aren't as deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel as though it isn't. I have to just be on my P's and Q's for sure.
Yeah.
Even if you look at Sterling and the abuse that he's received, you know, from the media, just from anything, buying a house, you know, the tattoos, just him leaving Liverpool to go to City. The only abuse that I think he deserved was when he got that silly haircut, the James Brown haircut. But other than that, it's ridiculous. Now you look at him; he's the player carrying, you know, England, and you know he scored what maybe Kane's equalised it now.
Yeah, I think it's the same now.
Yeah, I think.
But you know, it's how do you stay motivated? How do you, if that's your talent, how do you get them to stay motivated? What does it take to sort of keep someone motivated?
Listen, the conversations that I'd have, and it's bad to say this, but it's just reality. The conversation that I'll have with a black client will be slightly different than the conversations that I have with a white client.
Yeah.
There are some common themes that I'll be saying to both. Work hard, you know, bait, okay, tick that box. Have self-belief. We've got core values with my agency. The four of them are want it more for you than someone else wants it for you, because if you're not self-driven, we've been through that, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Really focus on the iteration, which is repetition. Work at your craft. That's really important. And we've got a list of core values. But the thing is, if you don't have, you know, that's at a base level that I'll say to a black player, white player. But to the black player, I'll also be saying, right, really focus on your socials as well, for example. I'd say that to another player as well, but really focus on your output. You don't want to be giving anyone ammunition to drag you down or do something. You have to be yourself, right? You'll never say to a player, don't do something just because, or do something that's not organic or natural to you. That doesn't make sense. But it's just a hard one to explain, but it's about be aware that there are certain, as we've seen with Sterling, there are certain things. How many football players have tattoos and have bought big houses? A lot of them, not just football players, athletes in general. But he gets singled out because of the colour of his skin, because that's the only difference between him and Joe Bloggs, you know, Phil Foden or whoever. I saw it happen with Bukayo Saka as well, I think. They were talking about house he bought. Foden's done the same. There's no mention of it. So, yeah, when it comes to the athletes, like I say, the conversation for the most part is the same, irrespective of race. But when it comes to the black players or ethnic minorities, you just say, hey, listen, make sure that you're just on the ball, because there are some things that you're not going to be able to just get away with.
Yeah.
Is that anything, I guess, that you can apply to the grooming world or just entrepreneurial spirit world? If that's even a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you look at the stats of like just capital flowing to black-owned businesses, it's minimal, especially in the UK. I think I saw something like 0.3% of venture capital goes to black women, for example. So yeah, it's minimal. Like the capital doesn't flow. That's something I've accepted. So that's why like we're very like just got to do it on our own. But yeah, that's the only thing I can highlight.
You know what's so interesting? I feel like right now we're surrounding ourselves with ourselves. You know, when you was talking earlier about the agents, the new crop, the new wave, when you was naming them, you know, the names were all black names. And I think maybe that also plays a factor. And I think 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that us surrounding ourselves with ourselves and like-minded individuals is what's going to change.
I believe that.
But for me, that's so important. And, you know, when I came into the game, I'm a big learning guy. I'll never be too humble to not learn, right? Or say, I've said to agents since I came in the game, let me get some experience. Or how did you do X? How did you do Y? And you'll see on the other side of the coin, the big corporates or the multi-billionaires, even moving into trillionaires, they do the same. They use their network. We get looked at, if you ask your boy for help or someone for help, sometimes it's looked at, oh, he's trying to gain knowledge, allow it. I remember Kevin Hart said something like that, where he went up to Jeff Bezos and just wanted to talk to him. And his boy was like, "Why are you doing that?" Kevin Hart was like, "Just to chat to him, just to exchange a bit of information. You might get something." So, you know, it's really important, I think, when I look at when I came into the game, there have always been black agents. Sky Anderson, who I think looked after Sol Campbell, is one. But they were never front and centre. There weren't many at the top of the tree that I knew about. And sports agency is still a relatively young business. Like the first agent was like 1960 or something like that. Mark McCormack at IMG, around that. He's commonly seen as the first agent, you know. So it's still a relatively young business. Yeah. And so, you know, there's going to be generational shifts, and who's at the top will change in terms of what they look like and where they're from. Obviously in America, Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, is a really prominent figure and name. They actually tried to change a rule where they said you can only be an NBA agent if you've got a university degree.
Oh, wow.
And that was called the Rich Paul rule, because they were basically, people were tired of him winning. But to your point, yeah, it's changed where, you know, now for me what's important is trying to inspire the next generation. And it sounds super cliche.
But you're doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. And it is cliche, but there's a young Akin. And when I say young Akin, he doesn't necessarily have to be black, but I like the idea of someone who looks like me, who's from where I'm from, Stoke Newington, not from a lot of wealth or whatever, but had a loving family and was given opportunity to do well. Yeah. I like the fact that there's the idea that there's a young kid who, because I remember, just a quick story, I was driving with my mum, this is many summers ago, I was about 13, 14, driving to my cousin's house in Croydon. My mum is really highly educated. She lectures at Greenwich University. She's a writer. So I've been around words and academia all the time. I was sporty. That was my thing. Yeah. That's her. And we were driving to my family house, and I remember it clear as day. It was about 10, 11, 12. And there were 3 boys walking past the car, right? I think two black kids and 1 white kid maybe. And she said, "What do you think they're going to be when they grow up? They're around my age." I said, "Don't know, maybe a footballer, musician, something like that." Because that's all I'd seen in terms of black faces on TV. Yeah. I'd seen Henri, or I'd seen, I don't know, 50 Cent or Will Smith. That's all I'd seen. I'd never really seen a prominent, you might get Trevor McDonald, you know, the goated TV presenter, but they're kind of anomalies, right? So for me now, the focus was, I want to show the young Akin that there are loads of, and to finish that story, my mum said, "Why didn't you say doctor or astronaut or, you know, X or Y?" And I sat back and I thought about it, and I said, you know, years later, I thought, why didn't I say that? That was my reality.
Because you've not seen it.
Hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
But even that's so interesting, because it's still, even though you're flipping it to academia, it's still very similar. A similar sort of scope or vein in footballer, actor, rapper, or doctor, lawyer, or whatever the other third one is that Africans and Caribbeans love to use. But you're not any of those things. You're a sports agent, which is even incredible within itself. Yeah. How did you get into that?
Yeah. So for me, man, it was a passion for sport, first and foremost. My mum and I, we spent 5 years in Los Angeles when I was younger, which is where the spark, because listen, if you're in LA, you're a young boy or girl, but especially boy, that's the perfect place of sports and storytelling. You're in Hollywood, and you got the Lakers and the Dodgers and this place and that place. It's the perfect melting pot. And I remember being young and subconsciously soaking all that in. So when I came back to London in 1998, that was me. Sport was my thing. Right. I didn't care too much about, you know, my wall at home wasn't Jordan, Katie Price. It wasn't Halle Berry. It wasn't this person, that person. It was Zidane. Do you know what I mean? It was Johnny Wilkinson. It was Vieira, all of these guys, all the time. And so for me, sport was my passion. Played rugby, went to a good rugby playing school. That was what I thought I was going to do. Got injured, ruptured my Achilles, and then made the transition into representing athletes because I had a relationship with them. So on the one hand, I had this great network from being out and about, university, different clubs, having lived in different places. And on the other hand, great relationships with players. And I made it happen that way. But there's no formula, to be honest, in terms of getting into it. It's just get in where you fit in kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess just to end it, what is one way each how do we stay motivated?
I'll let you go, Riz.
By being inspired. When I see people do great things, that really pushes me. I feed off other people's energy. I feel like I'm a chameleon. So when others around me are, doing their thing, that pushes me to do my thing. So yeah, that's what keeps me going. What about you, T?
Put me on the spot. I think for me, when I need to feel motivated, I remove distractions, and do whatever I need to do to focus and I guess attain the knowledge I need. Let's say I've suffered an L and I want to come back, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling down. I remove distractions. I come off my phone, or so as Malik will tell you, the amount of social media breaks I just take. WhatsApp breaks, whatever I need to do to sort of remove any distractions so I can focus on just coming back. And like you said earlier, you take that 1 or 2 days to be in your rut, but then you come back and for me it's important to, I guess, to circumvent just that feeling low. It's important to just remove distractions and stay motivated. It works for me.
Listen, for me, that's spot on, by the way, 100%. Being able to reset, regenerate, refresh is so important. Because in life, especially in the digital age, it's highs and lows and all the rest of it. So important, especially for the younger generation coming up. Because we're able to step away. For the younger generation, they're locked in all the time. My goddaughter's 10.
That's all they know.
It's all they know from a young age. I saw something on IG that young kids are swiping before they're wiping now. It's crazy, and it's actually how it is.
No, but it's true.
It's true, and it's great that they're connected like we are and were when we were young. But it's different because MySpace wasn't about followers, or you couldn't get a blue tick or whatever. It was just about connecting with your people. So that's slightly different. But we'll save that for the next episode. So for me, systems are the most important thing when it comes to what was the question?
How do you stay motivated?
Yeah,
it's working.
Yeah. No, but so that's part of it. Systems are really important. We all, and that's been a constant theme of this conversation. We all have goals. Everyone watching this, listening to it, us in this room, we all have goals we want to hit and obtain. But the vast majority don't have systems in place that are going to get you there. For example, you might say, I want to have a clean bedroom, but just cleaning it means that the following week it's going to be dirty again. If you have a system that says every Friday night, I'm going to start from this corner of the room, work round, clean it up, then week by week by week, you're going to stay on top of it, right? It's about processes. So in terms of motivation, if you just have an end goal, I want to be similar to you saying you want Goodman's name to resonate like Coke, like Apple, like McDonald's. I want, when people say Akin, I want them to think one of the best sports agents in Europe and at one point in time the globe, right? Down the line. The way that I get there is by having processes and systems. On a Monday, making sure that the clients that we've currently got are happy. What do they need? How can we improve what we're doing? Make sure we're asking those questions. Digitally, how are we doing? Are we telling good stories? Are we updating people on what we're doing, what deals that we're doing, the relationships that we have? In terms of internally, am I keeping my team motivated? These are all processes that I tick off week by week. And then you see growth. So that's important for motivation. If you're lacking motivation or you feel like, oh man, it's really hard to do, you haven't got a set list that you're ticking off and getting through. So that's the difference maker.
All gems. Riz, is there a promo code for?
Yeah, so 15% off Goodman Factory products. And the code is GPOD1. GPOD1.
Can I use it?
Yeah. Use it.
Your bid's nice, though, bro.
It's the Goodman. It's the Goodman oil.
Goodmanfactory.com.
Let's go. Yeah, honestly, product, super high level. I've been shouting that for a minute. You boys have been sending me some stuff. Love it.
Cheers, Akin.
So that's a wrap. Thanks again, everybody that's tuned in and got this far. Any questions, tweet us, at us, Instagram us, or whatever it is, and I think we will follow this up with a part 2.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's so much more for us to discuss, but it was a beautiful conversation.
Loved it, boys.
Yeah, so until we meet again, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Let's go.